Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, and today we're going to be looking at one of the greatest speeches ever given by Steve Jobs. This is going to be his last speech that he gave back in 2011. His health was failing him, but he still managed to show up to give this speech. He really wanted to inspire the next generation of innovators. So today, we're going to look at this speech, break it down, and see what makes it so great. Before we begin though, I need you to smash that like button if you enjoy these videos because it really does help me out, and let's get into it. Okay, so before we look at the speech itself, let's talk about the context of it. So in 2011, Steve Jobs was very sick. He had been through multiple cycles of treatment for pancreatic cancer, and he was not doing well. He would resign from his position as CEO just a few months later, although he did remain chairman of the board and CEO until 2012 when he passed away. But at this point, his health was failing him. He was super thin, he was very pale. He looked like a skeleton, and he still showed up to deliver this speech. It was to be his last public appearance. The event itself was an educational event hosted by Stanford University. It was called the Stanford Graduate Commencement. It's typically reserved for PhD students. This was not a typical commencement address. You know, it wasn't for recent graduates, but rather students who were working towards their degrees. The students here are more on the cutting edge of research, they're more innovators, they're more inventors. So it's a perfect audience for Steve Jobs. Now, usually the commencement speaker is one of the most popular things about these events. You know, over the years they have had many big names speak here, people such as John Kerry, Condoleezza Rice, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, Bill Gates. So yeah, pretty big names. So when they asked Steve Jobs to be the commencement speaker, he accepted despite his failing health. And that tells us a lot about the character of the man and how much he valued inspiring the next generation of innovators. So the title of his speech was How to Live Before You Die. How is that for a title? It really sets the tone for the speech, and it's something that everyone can relate to regardless of your age. Everyone is going to die. We don't know when, we don't know how, but we all will die. So we might as well learn how to live while we're alive. That's a very philosophical start to a commencement speech, but that's Steve Jobs for you. He always tried to do things differently. He starts off the speech by thanking everyone for coming and congratulating them on getting this far in their studies. He then jokes about how he's not qualified to be giving a commencement speech because he dropped out of college. He does, however, say that he has some relevant advice. He then goes on to say that the commencement address is supposed to be one of the highlights of your day, but that he thinks it should actually come at the end of your life. He says that it should be delivered at your funeral. He says that you should have lived your life, and then someone else should be giving the commencement address at the end of your life. And that person should talk about all of the things that you accomplished, all of the things that you learned. They would get to share stories and reminisce about all of the fun times that you had, and that would be the perfect time to give a commencement address. But since he's giving it to students who aren't yet dead, he tells them that he has 3 things to share with them. The first thing he talks about is death. He tells the audience that he was recently diagnosed with cancer for the 3rd time. He also shares that he's received a lot of treatment, including surgeries, and that those treatments have left him very weak. He then makes a very profound statement. He says, "No one has ever been so lucky as to have good health and a bad back." Now, that sounds like a joke, but it's really a commentary on life. He's saying that with great blessings comes great pain. And it's true, isn't it? Life doesn't give you everything all at once. If you're blessed with good health, maybe you don't have enough money. If you're blessed with money, maybe you don't have friends or family. If you have friends and family, maybe you're stressed out with work. These are the kinds of decisions that you have to make in life. You never get to choose everything. You can't win everything. There's no lottery in life. So when you do get a blessing, you have to appreciate it and be grateful for it. He then transitions to talking about his own mortality. He says that since he has been close to death a couple of times now, he's realized that there's only 2 things that he regrets. The first one is that he didn't spend enough time with his family, and the second one is that he kept too many things unsaid. At this point, Steve Jobs begins to tear up. He's visibly overcome with emotion. He then tells the graduates to call up their family members, tell them how much you love them. Tell them how much you appreciate them. Tell them how much you love the things that they did for you. You know, tell them about all of those moments that you cherish and value so much. He says you're going to be so glad that you did that. He then talks about the things that he wishes he said, and he says that he wished he spent more time with his family. He then transitions to the second point of his speech, and that is about living. He tells the graduates that the best advice that he ever got was from his college dropout idol, which was Steve Wozniak. He says that Wozniak told him that he could build anything he wanted, that he could build a computer, that he could build a house, that he could build a car, anything that he wanted. All he had to do was just figure out how things worked and then use that knowledge to build whatever he wanted. Jobs says that he thought about this for a long time and eventually realized that the same thing applied to life. You can build anything you want, but you have to figure out how life works. You have to understand the principles. You have to understand how things operate, and then you can use that knowledge to build whatever kind of life that you want. Jobs then goes on to talk about how he built Apple based on the principles of simplicity, greatness, and humanity. He then encourages the graduates to do the same thing. He tells them that they can build anything they want. They can build a company, they can build a product, they can build a life. All they have to do is understand how things work. They have to become students of life and then use that knowledge to build whatever they want. The final point of his speech is about connecting the dots. He says that you never really know how things are going to turn out and that you can't predict the future. He says that sometimes you won't be able to connect the dots until years later. He uses his life as an example. He dropped out of college to join Atari, but Atari ended up firing him. He co-founded Apple with Steve Wozniak, but he was forced out of Apple in 1985. He went on to found Next, but that company failed. And he went on to found Pixar, but he almost lost faith in that project as well. Looking back, though, he says that if he had done things differently, he wouldn't have been able to accomplish all of the things that he did. He wouldn't have been able to create the products that he created. And he definitely wouldn't have been able to build the life that he built. So he says that we shouldn't try to predict the future. We shouldn't try to plan every little detail. Instead, we should focus on understanding the principles of life. We should focus on learning as much as we can. And then we should just go out there and try new things. In conclusion, I think that this is a phenomenal speech. It's one of the best speeches that I've ever heard. I love how he starts off the speech with a bang. He immediately grabs the attention of the audience and he doesn't let go until the very end. I also love how he's honest and vulnerable. He opens up to the audience about his own struggles with mortality. He doesn't hide behind his famous persona. Instead, he shows the audience the real Steve Jobs, a man who is afraid of dying, a man who is struggling with cancer. I think that this makes him more relatable and it makes his message more impactful. If you want to watch more videos about great speeches, check out the playlist right here. And that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it.